Well, welcome back, guys. Wanted to give a bit of an update on our project Marilyn here. Not gotten a whole lot done here the last couple of weeks because it's been really cold. Really cold. It's about 15 degrees right now. We had a pretty good pile of the white stuff show up here the other day. And been working a lot at my day job, so haven't done a ton here. I'm working 3 or 4 different projects at the same time, but I wanted to give you an update on what we're thinking of doing. Well, probably not thinking at this point. We're sort of committed. What we're going to do with Project Marilyn. I've done a lot of tinkering with the carburetor and the choke system on this. I'm learning a lot as I go. Service manuals have been a big help in that regard. Got it running good now. Even at 15 degrees, I'm pretty confident if I reach in there and hit the key, this thing will fire right off and it'll sit here and idle. So, making good progress in that regard. But we've still got this issue with the rear suspension. Yes, that's a treadmill. That is not part of this project. That's part of another project. We'll see what becomes of that later. So I contacted a spring manufacturer, I believe in Kansas, who can make me replacement springs for this car. I was quoted about $400, a little over $400 with the shipping, to get 2 new rear springs made and sent to me. I located on eBay 2 replacement rear shock absorbers. Unfortunately, they're about $175 each. So I'm going to have $500 in replacing like for like rear suspension. And in keeping with the spirit of this project, I'm not concerned about keeping this car all original. We want to enjoy this car. We want to take it out. We want to ride it. We want to drive it around. I want to use it to take my kids to the dances in high school. I want to drive it to church on Sundays. We want to have a good time with this. So I'm going a little bit different direction with the rear suspension. I've decided, there's a nice shot of the Spirit of Ecstasy. I've decided to do something different. We're going to put this thing on airbags. Now, I've seen where this has been done once before, and I've decided to take a little bit different approach. I don't want to invest a ton of money in this project to get it on the road, and I don't want to spend a ton of time, rear axle swapping with a Ford 9-inch as some have done. I don't need that at this point. In fact, I'd sort of prefer, I guess, to maintain independent rear suspension because it'll ride a little better. So we're going to maintain the rear suspension, but we're going to put it on airbags. And if my calculations have been correct, we should be able, with those bags, to bring this thing all the way from full ride height, which will put the suspension on the limit straps, all the way to putting it down on the bump stops. Now, I'm not a big tuner import guy. That's not my scene. But I think this thing would look cool as heck, laying some frame. I'd like to be able to bring this thing into a parking lot and air it down and just sit it down in the weeds. I think it would be really cool. And since I've got less invested in the parts to do the rear suspension than what it was going to cost me to do like for like, that's what we're going to do. So I've ordered 2 of these tube cup kits. I ordered 2 because I need that much tubing and that many of the spring plates. I've got some airbags with internal bump stops. These are not expensive units. These are off of eBay, or actually I think I got them from Amazon, but it's an eBay brand. Vixen Air is the name of the brand. I went that direction because they're not overly expensive. They're a little bit less expensive than going with Firestone or Slam Specialties or Ride Tech, but they also have a wider range of operation on these bags and an internal bump stop, which is going to be helpful because the bump stops in the rear of this thing are pretty well shot. It's a weird design. I could put something else in there, but for an extra $10 per bag, I got an internal bump stop. So I'm excited about this. I think that's the direction we're going to go. Speedway Motors is where I got the cup kits. I've got the airbags here. I'm still waiting on my line and some fittings to come. They were supposed to have been here a day or 2 ago, but this snow kind of set them a little behind. So I think they should be showing up here today. So this is what we're going to be working on. I'm going to build some cups. We're going to use that to take up the majority of the space that was previously occupied with those great big long springs. I'm going to build some plates at the top. I'm doing a little bit of CAD here, cardboard aided design. These are the old ride height adjustment cylinders. These run off of the car's hydraulic system. And basically that would screw into the cap on the top of the spring. And then they would give you that approximately 4 inches of height adjustment for ride height. Believe it or not, I think I can sell those used as they are for most of the cost of the air suspension that I'm doing. So doing a little CAD here. I've got a little template so I know where my hole spacing needs to be. We'll go ahead and transfer those holes over onto one of these top plates. See, this is the top because it's got the hole for the air line and fitting. So we'll transfer those holes over onto here, drill, and probably weld nuts to the underside of these so that we can go through the existing mounting holes in the spring pocket through these plates and fasten a top cup up inside the spring pocket, up inside the spring tower. So because of the design, because of the space, I'm going to end up doing 2 cups. There'll be one above the spring and one below the spring. I'm leaning towards putting kind of a shorter cup on top of the spring because that'll put the spring, the air spring itself kind of up inside the spring pocket. I've got a little bit more clearance there. I think it'll be a little better protected. Gives me just a little bit more unsprung weight in that I'll have one of these cups added to the trailing arm on the suspension, but I think that's probably the better way for us to go. It allows us a little bit better clearance here anyway. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's kind of tight in here. Of course, that half shaft is unbolted from the hub right now, just to give me the ability to move the suspension all the way through its articulation without putting a bind on that exhaust pipe. But that exhaust pipe is kind of tight in here. So if I put the air spring down here in the bottom of the cup, it's going to be awfully close to that exhaust. And I don't think I want to put that much heat into that airbag. So instead, we'll put a lower cup in there, make up part of the difference, and then the air spring can live up inside the spring pocket. It'll go up inside there and be up out of the way. Things will be a little bit more protected. There's a shot of the bump stop. Not a lot of it left. These old springs were so collapsed that it was basically riding on those bump stops. There was not much spring travel. So any little bump and you were into the bump stop. You can see where we've done some rubbing on the inner fender. So this is going to be a learning experience for me. This whole project has been. I've never worked on a Rolls Royce before. I've never done air suspension before. We're going to do it on the cheap here to get started. I just bought Schrader valves to go on the ends of those lines. We'll get this thing on its own feet again and put some shop air into those airbags just to get it at ride height. That'll allow me to get the car on the road, get it to town for a VIN inspection, get the title back in my name, and get us started. If we like the way it rides, we may go ahead and do the front here as well, at which point we could add a compressor and a tank and a control system or some gauges and valves if we want to just keep it simple. But I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be something different. It's something new to me. It's an opportunity to learn something new, and I'm excited about where I think this is going to go. So that's it for now. Got a lot of work to do. It's cold out here. I think I'm going to go inside and warm up for a little while, eat some lunch. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.